on today's show.
In honor of Hanukkah's 8 crazy nights, we show the 8 craziest sights from the season so far.
It's Throwback Thursday. Was Dennis Rodman one of a kind, or is there a modern-day worm?
And we'll play it cool in this week's edition of the Meme Team.
It's Thursday, December 10th. The starter starts now.
Good evening, sweet world, and welcome to the starters. Whether you're listening to the podcast or watching us on NBA TV and or YouTube, we're happy to have you. I'm Jay Skeets, and alongside me, as always, that's Tess Millis.
Hey, thank you for joining us.
To his right, the international man of mystery, taking it to the max, Lee Ellis.
Friends.
Lily, and last, certainly not least, Starters blog and beard editor, Trey Kirby.
Hey-o!
Trey, what do you got for us tonight?
Well, I'm here at the internet looking for your best tweets at hashtag the starters. And speaking of Twitter, we got great news!
Yes!
We finally got at the starters on Twitter. A huge win for us. If you've been following along on the drop, you know we've been in a season-long battle with the Jakester over the handle. He finally hooked it up today. And then he took our old handle at starters, keeping it in the family. I love that, Jakester. Good to have it. You still with a handle, and we're happy to have at the starters. If you're following at home, tweet at us. Use hashtag the starters or tweet at us at the starters.
Oh,
we're
it's
seeing it
so
no matter
nice.
what. Feels so good.
All right.
Shout out to
to the Jakester.
It was
We
a
got
trade-off. It was a
What a
trade-off.
trade.
That's nice, man.
It
That's
was
nice.
a great trade.
It's a trade of the NBA season, some people are saying.
Some are saying.
All right, look, we got lots to get to tonight. It actually marks the 5th night of Hanukkah here tonight, the Festival of Lights. So, in honor of the 8 crazy nights, shout out to Adam Sandler and Adam Silver. I was going to say Adam Silver, but I meant Adam Sandler, but both work. We bring you the starters' 8 crazy sights. So the weirdest, strangest, most surprising things we've seen so far this season. We're going to count these down, Tess.
We've had a heck of a season so far. Let's start it up. Number 8, Jeremy Lin showed up to training camp. People asked him about his hair. They would not stop asking about his hair. He said, hey, I'm part of a group of 7 friends. We're all growing it out together. I'm in the in-between phase. Oh, this is the final product a couple weeks in? No. We're still in the in-between phase. I just got to do something. It takes me 3 minutes. It's not a big deal. And finally, we found out Wednesday, this is what we had been working to.
This is the final product?
This little ponytail, apparently. I don't know, unless I'm missing something. This is what we got to work with
Well, it
here.
was worth it.
George Hill must be so happy that Jeremy Lin's been doing all this stuff with his hair after he dyed his hair blonde. And I know there was a lot of memes and tweets going around about it, but Lin has taken the
I know
NBA
there's
hairstyle.
not 7 of us, but do you guys maybe want to get in on a growing our hair out pact? Everybody get the Jeremy Lin by the end of the season?
Not the whole season, but yeah, you know.
You want to try it?
I'll
It's
do
that-
it for a couple of weeks.
Pick and pay off.
Sure.
Pick and pay off. All right, we've decided. All right, it's
It's that
pretty good.
in-between phase.
It's always the worst part.
We'd be asked about it over and over and over again, you know?
It might be worth it.
Such a pain.
Get some tweets.
All right, and number 7, an actual real NBA one here. For the most, last decade or so, the Eastern Conference has sort of been viewed as the little brother.
The least in conference.
Yes, in comparison to the Western Conference, but that doesn't seem to be the case, at least this season. The East is actually 65 and 64 in head-to-head games versus the West, so that's big. And if the playoffs started today, you would have 2 teams with winning records in the East that wouldn't be in the playoffs, while you would have 2 teams in the West with teams with records at 500 or below that would be in. That's usually the
other way,
opposite
yeah.
when it comes to the East or West.
It is strange.
Do you think, though, that this sort of can continue, that the East is, again, in quotations, better than the West this season?
Yeah. Let's scale that back. Better is a strong word.
Right.
I mean, the middle class of the East, we knew would get better. It's not a deeper conference. We just know 2 through 10, there's just a ton of parity. That's what's happening here. The Western Conference is still better. They've got the 2 best teams, 3 of the best teams, if you're looking at some metrics, in the Warriors, Spurs, and Thunder.
Right.
Better than everybody in the East. The Warriors have more wins against their conference than the top team in the Cavs do overall. So that's what's happening here. There's just a little bit more parity going on.
I think this is good, though.
It's great.
Because
Yeah,
we all
it's
usually
it's great
are.
for the playoffs.
Yes.
I mean, we could see some upsets in a 2-7. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a better conference.
It's misleading, though, because 4 of the top 5 teams, according to odds makers, are still from the West to win the championship. And the 6th team is the Miami Heat. they're not going to win the championship this year. So it's still, even though the East might have more wins, I think it's still coming out of the Western Conference to win the championship.
All right, moving on to number 6 here. We didn't get to show you this on the show, so we wanted to show you Shane Larkin's crazy block where he looks like he's levitating.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like he doesn't stop rising.
This is the Tom Chambers dunk of blocks. He just rides them.
Yeah, I've also
Exactly,
seen
yeah.
people compare it to, remember the movie Hidden Tiger, Crouching Dragon?
Yeah.
Or is it
I
the other way
remember
around?
Crouching Tiger, Hidden
Yeah,
Dragon.
it's the other way around.
But I know there's a sequel.
Close enough.
Yeah, it looks like he's floating.
Yeah.
It does because he sort of boosts up there.
It looks like Barry Larkin going up for a ball at short. Just keeps on going.
Number 5, Kristaps Porzingis.
No one saw this coming.
This is a bit of a shock. Number 4 pick for the Knicks this draft. He's got 10 double-double. He's averaging 14.5 points per game, nearly 9 boards, nearly 2 blocks. And it's not just his on-court impact, it's the popularity of this guy. I mean, his number 6 jersey, that was top 20 in sales already on Black Friday and Cyber Monday. I mean, you see the New York Post headlines there. We had some fun with this, it's insanity. That's the thing that's crazy to me. And I know they've released, today was the first official day you can start voting for All-Stars. I'm curious to see whether there are enough Porzingis, Knicks, and Latvian fans to vote this guy into the All-Star game. I know that sounds crazy, but I could see it in play.
No, Chris Starter, Porzingis. It could happen.
He's
It
in the
literally
perfect
could
market
happen.
for it. He is in the perfect market. The Knicks fans will
definitely.
get behind. They haven't had a lot to cheer about in years gone by other than Melo, so this is their guy. They're going to really give him a big push.
It's easy to forget that at the beginning of the season, we all expected him to come off the bench. And Derek Fisher gave him that spot.
Yeah.
And obviously he thrived. It's that, the tip back dunks,
Yeah.
the cornrows that he had as a youngster. I mean, he's just so storied 5 weeks into his career.
Not to mention, when he was drafted, people were kind of worried about the exact opposite happening, right? Like, if he comes out and struggles to begin the season, then the Knicks fans turn on him and it's a horrible situation for him. Now he's been the greatest player on earth for the Knicks fans in the past 10 years, and everybody loves him, so pretty cool.
That's why it was surprising that he started.
Yeah.
You know, in the huge lights of NYC. You'd think,
Right.
you bring him along slowly. You don't want Andrea Bargnani's situation here. But the big lights, I mean, he's thriving.
He's thriving.
It's pretty cool. All right, moving on. Number 4, no one saw this coming. The Rockets start led to Kevin McHale being fired after only 11 games. This team was a dark horse title contender coming into the season. Listen, we got to tell it straight here. The players got him fired. They were not ready coming into this season. They lost the first 3 games by 20 points each. James Harden talking about being the MVP last year, said he deserved it. Ty Lawson talking about, well, he would have given Steph Curry a run for his money in the conference finals if he was a part of the team. A lot of chatter, but they weren't ready to play. And they're slowly starting to get it together, but they just were not ready out of the gate. And Ken McHale, a quick hook, 4-7 after 11 games.
They're getting close to 500, you're right. They're putting together some wins, but does anyone really believe that they wouldn't have put that together if McHale
Anyway.
was still coaching?
No,
Yeah. I
no,
don't.
of course
I thought
not.
it was silly at the time. I still think it's silly, and I'm glad that they've turned it around. We want another team in the mix here, but that was really shocking. Wasn't it like 24 hours prior, Lee was saying, there's no way they fire Kevin McHale.
Absolutely. Spot on, I was on that one.
Yeah, that was crazy. All right, next one here. Look, it's the whole Kobe Bryant farewell tour, swan song, whatever you want to call it. It's been a little weird. You know, he announced his intention to retire from the game of basketball at the end of the season. And then we've gotten this strange and at times magical because of the crowds coming out to see him on the road, the final game he plays in certain arenas. But he has just struggled, and it's just odd to see one of the greatest players of all time this year be the worst shooter in basketball.
If you look at
Which he sort of
Porzingis,
is.
as we were talking about, a young guy starting out his career, having this great start, and then you've got a guy at the other end of his career, and his career is just ending in not a very nice way for him. He's shooting himself out of the league terribly.
In a way, it's the most perfect Kobe way to end a career. Because he's going out guns blazing, but it is strange.
Yeah, I like how he doesn't care how many air balls he's had. He's going to go out and keep shooting. I
You
like
like that?
Well, I like that part of him because he's like, I don't care what anyone thinks. But it's just sad to see, knowing how great a player he was, that it's really ending badly for him.
You said it's not a very nice way to end his career. That's a very nice way to put it. I mean, he is just firing. And we knew Kobe would shoot in his final season. I don't think we expected the 3 balls to go up like this over and over.
Not when
and
he's
over
missing
and over.
them at the rate that he's missing. You'd think he would have reeled it in, but instead he's
scaled
shooting
back.
more.
It was nice to see on Wednesday night Kobe tell his coach, don't put me back in. Let the young
That's
guys
true.
try and go get the win. We saw D'Angelo Russell hit some big shots. They ended up losing to the Wolves. But he actually said, don't play me.
I can't wait
Let
to
them
see
play
that
one.
on the documentary. That's going to be
Yeah,
a great part of it.
that's true.
Number 2, Matt Barnes game winner. This was absurd.
Oh, this is nuts.
Well, but he gets a rebound here. 5 seconds left. Everybody's calling timeout. No, no, no. Fires it up. No. Yes. What a great shot. Everybody wants him to stop. He lets it go with about 2.5, 3 seconds left on the clock, and it goes down.
Just a good look.
There's not much to say.
Stan Van Gundy.
It is so funny to me that they ended up putting like 1.7, 1.8 back on the clock. That is the funniest part to me.
He had an option with Courtney Lee running down the sideline. No, he just, it was a real Chris Childs in Toronto moment to take it back to 2002. Didn't know what was on the clock there at all.
The Grizzlies missed a lot of free throws down the stretch that really could have had them win the game in a normal way.
Right.
They couldn't do it. Instead, they resolved to that.
But, we can now add it to the mantle of great half-court game winners. Sheed comes to mind, and Devin Harris fumbling, and Tyreek Evans, and so on.
Yeah.
So now we got
That's a
Matt
good one.
Barnes in there. All right, final one, again, of the 8 crazy sights from this season. It's the Warriors. It's the Warriors. We're 2 weeks away from Christmas. We're smack dab in the middle of Hanukkah, and they haven't lost a professional basketball game yet this season.
What's their streak?
23-0.
I heard
Correct.
27.
No.
Oh, 23. But we are lucky, literally, to be able to watch a team that is this good.
Yeah.
It's been a long time. They seem a little more dominating to me than the LeBron Heat did, and it's just a little different to see a team do it mostly from the outside, right? With the LeBron Heat, it was like they're just going to overpower teams.
Yeah.
This is a team that is more physically talented than everybody else, but with the Warriors, bombs away.
I think it's easy to forget, too, that we thought coming into the season that they would take a step back because they won a title.
Their win
And it's-
total that they couldn't get to 67.
we just thought, will the drive be there in November and December?
Oh, they found
Especially
it.
without their coach.
Yeah, that's right. It's nuts. All right, we got to take a break. Coming up, Throwback Thursday featuring the Worm. You're watching the Starters.
Traveling man, doing all that I can. My house
Welcome back to the Starters. It's time for a little bit of Throwback Thursday, and our NBA TBT today is the Worm, Dennis Rodman. You see the jersey there, courtesy of our friends at basketballjerseyworld.com. One of the most interesting players, both for reasons on the court and off the court, Dennis Rodman. A great career. I mean, started, of course, with the Pistons, played a couple of years with the Spurs, won a bunch of titles, not only with the Pistons, but then with the Bulls. And then he played for the Lakers and Mavs, but some of us pretend to forget that.
Didn't that happen?
Yeah,
I mean,
but interesting numbers here, Lee, quickly. This guy's in the Hall of Fame, averaging 7 points per game, which is perplexing, but the rebound's the big reason why, and the defense, see the assists, steals, not much there, but 2-time All-Star, 8-time All-Defensive Team, 2-time All-NBA, 2 Defensive Player of the Year trophies.
the rare player who could dominate a game without scoring.
That's right.
Rebounding, and he could absolutely dominate the game. And even defensively, he's known as a fantastic defensive player, 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. He didn't do it with a lot of steals and blocks. He did it
Positioning.
positioning, moving his feet, using his body, and just troubling guys. A lot of guys. Charles Barkley talked about a lot how much trouble he caused those guys. And I mean, it's such a great skill and an underrated skill to be able to do that, because it's a lot harder to quantify. It's a lot harder to, put into statistics, but he was able to do it. And his teams, Isaiah Thomas talks about it, Jordan talks about it. Anyone who played with him knows how important and how impactful he was as a player.
Yeah, I'm curious, Trey. I mean, as a Bulls fan growing up, you got Rodman sort of at his best, arguably. Favorite moment, game, situation with Rodman?
I was lucky enough to be in attendance the one time in his entire career Dennis Rodman had a triple-double. It was way back in 1996. My mom got tickets from Old Second National Bank to go see rookie Jerry Stackhouse and the Sixers. Saw Rodman's first three, and he was all over the place. That first three, the crowd went legitimately crazy. And then here on his 10th assist, Michael Jordan says, "I can get a shot anytime, just give it to me, we'll get it." The crowd went nuts. That is probably the loudest game I've ever been to,
Wow.
but I mean, this is also colored by being 12 years old at the
Yeah.
time, but still, it was an amazing moment. Seeing Dennis Rodman get a triple-double, I remember it millions of years later.
You talk about Dennis Rodman as well, on the court and off the court. He had a few issues. During
Just a few.
During a period starting from the 1991 to 92 season, he averaged 18 rebounds, 17 rebounds, and 16 rebounds per game. And that was one of the most unhappiest periods in his life off the court. Chuck Daly had left the Pistons.
Yeah.
The Pistons' championship days were over. He was traded to the Spurs. He really didn't want to be in San Antonio. So he could almost rebound despite any other off-court issues he was having at such an incredible rate that we haven't seen anything like that since then.
There was a moment in his career where he said, I'm not going to be a scorer, so I'm going to learn how to rebound.
Yeah.
And those first few years, he was a rebounder, but then he turned it up Because
To
he's
incredible
yeah,
levels.
yeah, we have to say he's 6'7". I don't
I know.
think we haven't even mentioned that.
Some say he was 6'6". They don't even have him as that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was a student of the game. He didn't really want to talk about it, and it's been written about by Benjamin Morris. He didn't really verbalize himself or think of himself as a student of the game, but he watched what everybody did, where they shot, where the ball was going to come off the rim. And then he was incredible at just locking limbs. He was so good at arm, leg locks, and then firing off, because he had a crazy athleticism, firing off from there when the ball came off the rim to go get it.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned how good of an athlete he was. Both Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson say he is the best athlete
Yes.
they've ever seen in the NBA, which is pretty crazy, but it
Yeah.
makes sense because he was a wing defender basically when he started with the Pistons, and then he was the best Shaq defender for a long time in the NBA at 6'7" and what, 220 pounds, 230?
All right. Well, this is a tough question. We usually do this with Throwback Thursday. Is there a modern day version of Dennis Rodman? Who comes to mind?
I think the rebounding numbers, it's probably Andre Drummond, what we're looking
Sure,
at right
just the
now.
totals, yeah.
He's grabbing 25% of available rebounds. That is venturing into Dennis Rodman territory.
Right.
But obviously, Andre Drummond is a much bigger player. He's going to score more points than Dennis Rodman. I think Tristan Thompson might be a better prototype, a guy who just rebounds.
That's his hero. Tristan
Tristan
Thompson
Thompson?
said, yeah, he wanted to be like Dennis Rodman.
It would make sense.
Yeah, well, you see how he goes after those offensive rebounds. You know, if you watched him, he's trying to replicate his game.
Ben Wallace is a pretty close one, although the man is obviously
Yeah.
retired, but that's a close one.
We've heard Steve Kerr, of course, having played with Dennis Rodman, and and then now coaching the Warriors. He's talked about Draymond Green defensively.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with the offensive end. I think they're completely different players. Draymond can hit a three,
we're
and he can
talking
pass
D,
a lot better.
for sure.
But defensively, Kerr has been quoted as saying, when he played in Chicago, that was an excellent defensive team, and we would put Rodman at the 5 sometimes because he really could. Earlier in his career, he could guard the guards and forwards, and then later on, it was the forwards and centers, as Trey said. And he said he sees a lot of Rodman in Draymond Green, and I buy that defensively.
Oh yeah, especially you see the way he stands up bigger guys, being only 6'5" or whatever he is. Pretty accurate.
When he won his first Defensive Player of the Year as well, he only started 43
Yeah.
games. Incredible. To come off the bench and win Defensive Player of the Year, amazing.
And he dated Madonna.
Yeah.
And he married himself.
And he married Carmen Electra. And he made a bunch of really bad movies. But he was a great player. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, we'll dance our way into the meme team. You're watching The Starters. Every Thursday on The Starters, we scour the internet to bring you the meme team, our favorite weird and wacky moments from the past 7 days.
At number 5, in Utah, all fans get free Chick-fil-A if an opposing player misses 2 free throws in the fourth. So that's what we're cheering for. Lou Amundsen doesn't just miss. He misses very badly. Matt Harpring, Craig Ballerjack, the Jazz broadcasters getting into it. Showing some spirit fingers. You gonna miss the second one? Oh,
yeah,
my God.
Who opened the
To
door?
get Chick-fil-A after that. Lou.
Harpring and Ballerjack. They just can't believe it. They just can't believe how bad that was.
Well, speaking of chicken, on Wednesday, Dirk spotted bringing a plate of leftovers into the Mavs arena. Now, this isn't a first. According to the Mavs PR, in Dirk's old age, he has gotten very particular about his diet. So he's always showing up with the plate covered in tinfoil, and he always has the same bottle as well.
At number 3, if you're the Rockets head coach and you gotta win, you just want to keep it rolling. Just keep it rolling. Yeah, that's what you gotta do. Mr. Bickerstaff, I mean, he's brought back the travel dance that we had last year.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Oh, do the Iguodala, do the Iguodala, yeah, do the
He's got
Iguodala.
that part. Bickerstaff needs to add that part.
But the original travel dance master, Chris Duhon, he does it so now. He gets low. Yeah. He does it so well.
That's so good.
Best moment of his career, Trey?
Oh, no doubt.
At number 2 on Wednesday, we the Starters protested the media claiming the Warriors have a 27-game win streak over 2 seasons. We asked you for your support in the movement. The people have spoken. Justice for David Lee, tweeted James. Young Philly was so mad he wrote his sign in blood. Mike Collymore got creative with Photoshop. Gotta love it. 1 streak, 1 season. And Damian Cooper dropped a poem on us. For a winning streak you see, no losses there can be. To ignore the losses is a farce. This 2-season streak and kiss my...
Number 1, D'Angelo Russell does his best Kobe Bryant impression. He called Kobe. He does the, hey, clear out. I like the little chest pump, get it away from the chest. Then he goes into the corner. We're going ISO, spin, one-legged. Oh, the question is, did he shoot the air
He
ball on
nailed
purpose?
it. He nailed it.
Oh,
We gotta ask. We gotta ask him.
Oh no.
All we're missing is
Obi would
him
take care of it if he
chewing
did
on his
that.
jersey. That's all he's got to do. Chew on the jersey, and he nailed it.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
All right, meme team in the books.
We also had wedgie number 13 on the season last night. Our friends, Mavs broadcasters, Jeff Skinwade, Mark Followell, and Derek Harper on the call. Take it away.
Lamar Patterson all over Parsons. Back to Chandler Parsons on a give and go, and we'll have a jump ball.
And that'll make the starters on NBA TV. They love those.
The wedgie.
Yeah. What's up, boys?
Hey, what's up, Skinwade?
Yeah,
Hey, what's up, man?
Thanks for the shout out. Appreciate that. Number 13 on the year.
Great stuff from the Mavs broadcast. Also, great stuff from Splitter there.
Yeah.
To let it breathe. He could have got that right away. He just-
It looked like Parsons did that on purpose.
yeah, maybe he did. All right, after the jump. Lely's very solid play of the night.
It's a beauty.
Spoiler. Back with the starters. Hey, good night for us. All of us taking the Hornets against the Heat, and we all came out with the victory. That was a beatdown, actually, from the Hornets over Miami. So we all pick up a win. You see the records there. We are playing for something. The loser at the end of December will have to do something either scary or weird or embarrassing.
Let's bring Peaches back.
Maybe we'll bring Peaches back. Yeah, who knows?
How's she doing? She 100 pounds yet?
She's 12 feet long already.
All right, tonight's picks. Ooh, we're picking one of the TNT games here. Bulls and Clippers. Bulls at home. Tass, the only one gonna back the Clippers.
We
Everyone
don't know
else-
who picks what either.
No, we don't. Yeah, a lot of people are unclear. Like, why'd you all take the Hornets? We don't know.
I just want to see that cool logo up there.
Tonight, that is the first game, Clippers and Bulls. Oh, Benny the Bull creeping out Reggie
Little Benny.
with a little Benny. This is gonna be, by the way, guys, the first time in 4 years that Chris Paul, hopefully, who will be playing, hopefully, will play against Derrick Rose.
Wow.
4 years. You guys haven't played against each other. Kings play host to the Knicks in the second game on TNT tonight. Lily, let's look back to last night. Where are we going for a very solid play?
We're going to Charlotte for the second time in 3 days, and I'm pleased to announce we have our first double ender of the season. Woo! Starts with Kemba Walker's beautiful steal to Nick Batum. Over to Cody
Wow,
Zeller.
great
with a
defense.
Gentle.
Great
dunk.
defense.
Could have been a better
That's-
pass, Mr. Batum.
Nah, but look at that. That's a great catch, and then he
That was a
flings
nice
it
catch.
over to Zeller,
That's a
who
nice
has
catch,
the
too.
gentle drop in, and that's what I call a very solid play.
A double ender for someone new.
well, if you
both
do
sides,
ever have play at the defensive end, it leads immediately to a play on the offensive end.
Immediately.
Immediately.
All right, guys, tomorrow morning or around noon Eastern time, we'll have the Starters Drop podcast up on iTunes and Google Play and our website. It's an hour long of fun. We talk a lot about the NBA, and then Lee usually shares a very odd story with us. So that's
Got
the
a
highlight.
beauty for tomorrow.
Looking forward to that. Thanks for joining us, folks. And remember, a new version of technology not only affects that particular product, but other products as well.
Brace the night, people.